good.
Good to go. Sure. Okay.
All right, we're going to call this public hearing of the City Council. It's hereby called to order. The first case is to determine whether there's been a violation of the city's ordinances as it relates to the alcohol license issued to Arthur Harper doing business by North Creek Shell. The allegations regarding the sale to a minor will be presented, and then the licensee, Mr. Harper, will have an opportunity to present evidence or testimony he would like the council to consider in making the determination for whether there was a violation, and if so, the penalty for such violation. The matter will be presented in an orderly manner. Once the presentation is complete, council will make a decision which will be stated and later reduced to writing and mailed to the licensee or his or her attorney. Okay, is Mr. Harper present, or is you representing him?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, you're Mr. Bullard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was, I guess, confirmed that Mr. Harper did own and operate the North Creek Shell on February 12th, 2021.
That's correct. Which Ms. Wheeler and I had talked about stipulating to certain things, such as that they did have a license at the time and so forth. So whatever that you would like to stipulate to for us to save time, I believe that we're willing to do that.
Okay. We actually have an attorney, Tina Stevens, who's going to be presenting them.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be advising the city council if they need help. So
Okay,
she's
sure.
actually going to be presenting, but Mayor, that's fine, whatever he wants to stipulate to, and I think we could cut the hearing down a little bit. Mr. Bullard also asked me if it would be possible, since he has the first and the second one, could he just basically present them together? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if possible, because I've spoken obviously to both of them, and it's very similar circumstances, very similar facts, and basically the same arguments.
And JD, let me make a statement. If y'all remember when we were making the vote of when to have the hearing and those things, I abstained from that. And my abstention was really in an abundance of caution because there were a lot of names on that list. And I thought that I might have a conflict on some of them. As it turns out, I do not. So that's why I'm here today.
And I get, and Councilman Tucker still thinks he does have one, and that's why he's not here today.
Yes, he's abstained from the voting on any of the issues regarding the alcohol license, and that's why he's not present today.
Okay. Is everyone okay with both these going on the first two at the same time? If that's fine, then we're good with that.
All right.
The facts that you're stipulating to would be that Mr. Harper owned the store or operated the store and had an alcohol license on February 12th, 2020. We have a ticket that was issued to the clerk that's been paid, so that's an admission offense.
Correct.
Under 3323A1, which is knowingly selling to a minor. So are you stipulating that?
That's correct.
That as well.
Council members, Mr. Mayor, in presentation of the first two cases, which are North Creek Shell with the owner being Arthur Harper and Southside BP with the owner being Mr. Patel, both of those cases being represented by Mr. Bullard here today, allegations have been made against both Mr. Harper as well as Mr. Patel, who own, again, as Mr. Harper owns North Creek Shell and Mr. Patel owns Southside BP. Mr. Bullard stipulated to the facts that each of those individuals own those stores, that they were the owner on February 12th, 2021, that each of those owners held an alcohol license on February 12th, 2021, and that each of those had an employee who received a citation for selling alcoholic beverages to an individual under the age of 21 on the date of February 12th of 2021. There's a stipulation as well that each of the clerks for both of those locations have also paid the citations that they received for selling the alcohol. The alcohol was sold in violation of OCGA 3-3-23A1. And at this point, Mr. Bullitt has requested a hearing in regard to the license of the store owners, being the alcohol license, being suspended. And then that's what we're here to determine today, is whether in fact there was a violation of OCGA 3-3-23A1. There was an admission of guilt through the payment of the citations. So the question before the council today is whether that in turn violated City Ordinance 6-70, and in the event that the council finds that there was in fact a violation of the Ordinance 6-70, what the penalty for that violation should be.
Mr. Bullard, is that part of what your stipulation is that it is a violation of 6-70?
Correct. So I stipulate that they ultimately did sell to a minor, but they didn't knowingly sell to someone that was a minor, but they understand now that it was a minor.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that City Council understands what's been stipulated to and what hasn't.
Okay.
If that is the case, are you then not stipulating to the fact that the clerk has admitted to knowingly selling per payment of the ticket?
Correct. By paying the ticket, they were not saying that on the date in question that they knowingly sold to a minor. Both scores were saying that ultimately they realized that they did sell to a minor, and that's why they paid their tickets.
Have you actually looked at the citations to see what the clerk was cited with and what they pled to?
I understand that they speak for themselves, but I'm just telling you what I was told by both stores.
I guess for our clarification, do you agree that a bond forfeiture or cash payment of a ticket is an admission of guilt?
I believe that this is an issue that we're probably going to have to take up on some sort of appeal, because I'm clearly not saying that.
Can we take a break and let me talk with him just a second so that we can be clear, the two of us?
Okay.
speak.
All right.
So I spoke with both of the stores, and both said that they are familiar with law enforcement personnel here, with it being a smaller community. And obviously, there's a concern at stores of shoplifting and various other things, and so they often welcome the presence of law enforcement personnel in their stores. So they also acknowledge that it is not a good thing to sell alcohol to minors, and neither store is making light of the situation. What both stores would ask for is some sort of leniency given the circumstances. The customer was known to both locations as being a law enforcement officer. You know, rightly or wrongly, both somewhat told me they just presumed that he was at least 21 because he was a law enforcement officer. You know, you have to be at least 21 to purchase a firearm in our country, which I understand. To possess a firearm, if it was purchased by another person, you can be younger than 21. Also, both just presumed that a law enforcement person wouldn't attempt to commit a crime at the store, and so both basically let their guard down, which is not typical for either location. They very much are remorseful at this time, and both stores feel that it would be fair to possibly receive a warning, and with the understanding that they are very much aware that they need to be diligent to not have this happen in the future. And to follow up on what I was saying, they both realize now that the customer was under the age of 21. And that is why they paid their fines, because they became aware of that. But at the time, both in their minds thought that this law enforcement officer is a minimum of 21 years old.
Okay, so,
Ms. Stevens, do you have anything you want to give to council members for them to review?
I do. I have a copy of the citations as well as the notice of hearing for each store, if there would want to be review of each of those copies. I will also provide a copy to Mr. Bullard so that he's able to see what the council members are looking at. Included there is a copy of the citation. There's also a copy where the citation was either paid by payment of the citation or by bond forfeiture.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. In your presentation, well, first, I think the violation is knowingly.
Correct.
Ms. Stevens, would you agree with that? That the violation is that they knowingly sold them?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm coming to the courtroom.
That's
Council member, The citations indicate that they sold to a person under the age of 21. What the statute indicates under 3323A1 is that a person knowingly, directly, or through another person shall furnish, cause to be furnished, or permit any person in such person's employed to furnish an alcoholic beverage. So arguably, the person knowingly is not the only indication here. Is if they directly furnished it to a person under 21. This is not a conjunction of and here. This is a conjunction of or.
Okay. All right. And I just want to clarify that in your presentation, you are seem to be saying, what I heard was that the officer that purchased was under 21, but was, though his age wasn't known to the clerk, he was somebody they knew as being a police officer.
That's accurate.
And the assumption you further said was that they had, they knew him as a police officer, depended on them in various circumstances to help them as they would any business.
Correct. So another way for clarification, basically there's a certain amount of respect and deference to law enforcement personnel, especially when it comes to these types of businesses. And so that caused the locations to, lower their guard more so than the diligence that they normally would use with any customer that was not known to them and certainly was not known to be a law enforcement officer.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, they fully understand now, but at the time, they thought that it was a legitimate legal transaction.
Is it all right that these clerks here that would say under oath that they would be, hey, I knew that was they're not here?
I'm just speaking on behalf of them.
Okay.
Mr. Bullock, what I hear you saying is it was an assumption on their part that he was old enough. Is that right?
Well, that's correct. And I understand assuming is not always prudent.
Saying this is the case now that it's back up, we need right now to determine, A, was there a violation, and if so, what we think the penalty should be.
Right.
So that,
If Mr. Willard is
through
finished
with
with his presentation, then you can certainly start discussing.
okay. Is there anything else you want to add to this? I mean, questions get brought up with the other stuff, but that is your.
I'll just add one final thing. I've represented one of these locations, the North Creek, for a number of years, and I'm very much familiar with the fact that they try to run a reputable business. I'm not as familiar with the other location, but I have no reason to think that they are not trying to do the same thing. Unless you guys have any questions for me, then
Okay.
I'm fine.
I have a question.
Okay.
Mr. Bullard, do you know what the different distance is between the North Creek Shell store and the Southside BP store?
I'm not very familiar on that.
Okay. Do you know here if if the officer that went in and purchased the alcohol, if he actually frequents both locations, or does he only frequent one of these locations?
So I specifically asked, when the officer comes in, do you give the officer free coffee, which is commonplace at stores? Do you do this and do that? And they said no, but the officer has come in, we're familiar with the officer.
At both locations?
That is what I was told.
That's all.
I have another question related to what you just said. So it's my understanding that he has been in both in uniform and out of uniform probably?
I was told that both were very much aware of the fact that he is an officer. They basically said they know the entire force. I don't know the number of officers, but they said that they are familiar and they definitely knew that he was a law enforcement officer.
So if they knew he was an officer, a law enforcement officer, why would they sell to him?
Why would they sell to him? Obviously, at this point, they realized that they made a mistake and that they violated the statute. They frequently sell to customers who are 21 and above. They don't make it a habit of selling to people that are below 21. But in light of the fact that he is a law enforcement officer, in their minds, they thought, well, certainly a law enforcement officer is not committing a crime in our store. And so when he set the alcohol on the counter, they sold to him thinking he upholds the law, he's a law enforcement officer, so this is a legitimate transaction. They found out after the fact that it was not.
Any questions? Any more questions? So now it's to determine if there was a violation. I guess we put to a vote, is that what?
Well, so the question is, one, was there a violation, and two, then what will the penalty for that be? I would just simply like to put forward, I don't think there's any doubt there was a violation. The representation, the attorney's representation is that the perception they were under when they made that sale. They admit now that they're aware now. They're not denying the violation. And so, do we have to vote that there was a violation?
Yes, that would be
A motion in a second?
yes,
Or-
just like we usually do.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that there was a violation.
Motion. I hear second. I hear second. So I guess we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Councilman Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilman Reeves.
Yes.
Councilman Head.
Yes.
All right. So now that we have determined that there was a violation, the second step is the penalty of that violation.
Let me clarify before we go further. Mr. Fuller, do you want them to make this vote applicable to both?
That's correct. I mean, it's more or less the same set of facts and circumstances, it's just different locations.
I just want to clarify, you want them to handle both at the same time, is that?
That's fine.
okay?
So if you guys want to clarify that this applies to both
Okay.
of my clients' locations.
Okay, so we took a vote, and was that
Mm-hmm.
for both violations, for both stores?
And Mr. Buller's stipulated to that.
Okay. Everybody says yes, okay. So now we move on to what the penalty would be for such a violation of that ordinance 6-70, correct?
Yes.
And I guess, need to read that ordinance to us, or list what the,
The penalty for the
Penalty.
first offense would be 6 months probation, which is an absolute, and then 0 to 30, so it's up to 30-day suspension of the license. So that's a range that you have to decide.
Okay. I guess we just need the thoughts from the council members on the penalty.
I'd like to recommend the 30-day suspension of the alcohol license.
Okay. Are you putting that in any form of motion?
I will.
Okay. There's a motion for a 30-day alcohol suspension. Do I hear a second of that?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Now, do we have any discussion?
Yeah, my thoughts are that I understand there's been a violation. And my thoughts were that there was a policeman that was known to the clerks in both the locations. And that, that they made the sale knowing that it was a policeman and with the understanding that they know him, and they made the assumption that can be dangerous. They made that assumption that he surely was of legal age and wouldn't come in and commit a crime. That doesn't lessen the reason that they or doesn't lessen the thing that they should have asked for proof if they had any question, but they were familiar with the police officer. So I understand that what they were thinking, and honestly think that could happen in many cases if they knew him to be a policeman, and he would make that assumption as 21. So I think that the probation, I understand that that's a given. There's going to be a probation. I'm concerned about the severity of the suspension of the license because of the valid assumption presentation that was made.
Okay.
Which I will just add, they've already been punished once, and the suspension certainly would be a second punishment, and we just ask for leniency because these are not ordinary circumstances.
Indeed. This ordinance was recently modified. Original ordinance called for 90 days?
90 days, yes.
90 days. And we've recently, council has changed that back to up to, it was shall be 90 days, and there was no wiggle room or anything. And then it was, council had voted a few weeks ago to make that effective then to be up to 30 days. So there's, once you hear stuff, you can change it if you needed to go not 30 days.
Just to clarify what Mr. Wood said, the citation was actually given to the clerk, and the clerk would have paid that. So you have two components here. One is the clerk, one is the license holder. So this is about the license holder, which the clerk's actions are the basis for while we're here.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, and we've had some discussion. Any other discussion? Anyone like to speak? Anything else? If not, then I'll call for a vote. The vote again is to hold it to the 30 days.
Go ahead. Can I make one more statement?
Yeah.
I would just say that I think the probation is a penalty. We need to recognize that. And it doesn't lessen the possible penalties for a second violation. So, someone wants just to be aware that there is a penalty here.
Chief, did you have anything that you want, given this operation, that you want the council to know?
I would just say for the council's benefit, he can come in and testify to that because the officer's here. There's only 2 stores in Thomaston that this officer frequents as a patron while he's on duty. Any other store that he comes to, he may have been there for a call, but he does not frequent those stores, and he can come testify to that to himself. And that's Southside BP and Raceway. That he will openly admit that he does go in those stores on a regular basis. Any of the other stores in town, if he's been there, it's because of a call related, but that he does not frequent those stores on a regular basis as a patron. Secondly, I would add that if a clerk knows someone's a police officer, that's even more reason they should have checked an ID, because they know it's a cop. And if they didn't check his ID, that cop could have very well turned around and said, why didn't you check my ID? You just violated the law. He didn't, but I would argue that that's even more reason, if they knew he was a police officer, that they should have checked ID. And for the record, there is no statute in Georgia law that a police officer has to be 21. This officer's 20 years old. He will not be 21 until, I think, November of this year. We hired him when he was 19, and he does an exceptional job. He's a very, very good officer. We also, I mean, this is not the first officer that we've hired that was under the age of 21 as well. We've had another officer that was hired at 19 as well.
Any further comments from anyone? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. Councilman Greathouse?
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks?
Yes.
Councilman Reeves?
Yes.
Councilmember Head?
No.
Okay, so that is 3-1 in favor of upholding the 30-day. And like I said, this decision has been stated, and we will later reduce it to writing and mail to the licensee and or his or her attorney, correct?
Just clarify the two businesses.
And that was, again, for North Creek Shell as well as Southside BP.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, what is the effective date of this?
Would be today, effective date would be today. So, if we need a bathroom break right now, because it's 9:39 and the next one really starts at 10.
But here's the thing, we're on, so we'll just need to go in and out.
Right.
But we can't turn off the cameras, so YouTube is still going.
You still going through, if you need a bathroom break right now, real quick before the next one starts back. But we're still live, so.
All right, yes, yeah, ready to go. All right, that's what we're gonna make. There you go, we go. But I guess we gotta go according to what's here, huh?
Okay, so unless the next person's here, we're ready to go. Yeah.
So we've done the first two, so we've
Right.
only got 3 more to, we got 6.
6 today.
Wait, it's the next.
He's back.
Yeah, that's right.
We're all about to jump on that.
Which was your favorite site?
Probably Zion. Zion National Park was just breathtaking. It's beautiful. All of it was so unique and so different that it
How
was.
cold was the water?
That hike we did in the creek, it was pretty cold. We rented the boots and the special
Right.
gear,
Year premium.
so it wasn't bad, but it was cold. But it wasn't too, like that day, it got up in high 60s, 70s.
Right.
So it was nice, it was beautiful. We had beautiful weather. We didn't have a drop of rain the entire trip. So. Anyways, it was, the boys had a great time. That was my oldest son, not my oldest, my second oldest, he's a senior. And he said he wanted to do that trip. He didn't want to graduate, for graduation, that's what he wanted. He wanted to go out west. So that was kind of his graduation present.
About how many miles did you cover the vehicle?
We flew. We
Okay.
flew to Denver, and then we rented a car from Denver, and we did the trip with a rental car, and we turned it in Vegas.
I was about to say, it takes 2 days to get there.
No,
Okay.
we put 1,600 miles on the rental car, going from place to place. But, we rented a car in Denver, and then, we turned it in Vegas when we got, because we ended in Vegas.
I had to go get a bag out west one time. It took me 33 and a half hours straight drive from my house to courthouse in Denver, Colorado. Just straight there. We were on time limit. We got there, and like I said, from Salina, Kansas to Denver is the worst part of the trip.
Yeah, that trip, last summer when we did the out west trip, we came through Denver and came back across Kansas, and that is the most
Right.
boring.
Like I was facing a
experience.
50-mile-an-hour headwind and ran to a
Yeah.
70-mile-an-hour dust storm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had some pretty heavy winds on our camper, we were pulling campers in, and it was rough. But yeah, it was a fantastic trip.
Lord, I just come from the cream. I guess I should tell you it's my second one. I had one on the drive in.
Makes me feel better, because I had 2 yesterday myself. They are addictive.
Yes, they are.
So much cheaper than.
So where's that?
Let's look at that.
Your arthritis probably new year. Arthritis probably new year.
No, not yet.
Well, it's coming. Let me tell you, it's merciless.
I hear you. But it's coming, huh?
Years of making arrests and fights and all that come back.
I understand.
It comes in different places. Hand, shoulder, elbow, knee. Worst one, neck right there. Or your athletic injuries come back at one point in time. It's had 14 inches anyway, but they look like swollen in order to.
I tell you what, I did, I my hand up there, I couldn't hold it with my fingers.
Okay. I use that Vortex, I use blue E-needle, and then I use that prescription Vortex. It helps with the pain, but like this, for the mobility, it's just like. all the information.
How old are you, Don? 61?
62.
62.
Yeah. I'm waiting on my paperwork to be here to start drawing. Break even was
We're good.
Yes.
All right. Now, we will hear the case to determine whether there's been a violation, a violation of the city ordinance as it relates to the alcohol license issued to Bill Singh doing business as Mr. B's. The allegations regarding the sale to a minor be presented, and then the licensee, Mr. Singh, will have an opportunity to present evidence and/or testimony. He would like to counsel the hearing, make a determination whether there was a violation, and if so, the penalty for such violation. This matter, again, will be presented in an orderly manner, and once the presentation is complete, council will make a decision, which will be stated and later reduced to writing and mailed to the licensee or his or her attorney. So Mr. Singh is here,
Yes, sir.
and I guess would you like to come forward if you want to, or you can from there and just, I guess, confirm that you owned and operated Mr. B's on February 12th, 2021.
I do.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody. My name is Bill Singh, and I've been in this town for past 30 years. And I am aware of it. The citation was, in other words, the mistake was made at my location. And in past 30 years in the same business, there is 2 other times the state, I used to own a 7-Eleven. I never have no citation at Mr. B's before. But at 7-Eleven, there's a twice underage sale occur. And how it was handled by state was the first time it was the store was put on probation for 6 months. The second time, if it was done within a 1-year period of time, you had a second citation, my license was suspended for 1 day. And a state officer literally came to the store and picked up the license, and I had to go to the Macon next day to get the license, and I was not allowed to sell alcohol until the license was at the premises where the license was issued. So at this point, in the city of Thomaston, maybe it's in an ordinance where it was a suspension of 90 days before. I think all the council members and everybody has to look into it. What it going to cause? Of course, a mistake is made. It was not made intentionally. It's not like okay, you are under age of 21. Come to my store, I'll sell you alcohol. It was not done in any kind of intentionally. All of us human. Mistake going to be made. If anybody on this earth is saying I never made a mistake in my life, I guess that only a dead person can say it. So that being said, if a mistake is made, don't punish the person. Okay, you made the mistake, and I'm going to just basically destroy you. What I mean by that is, if you want to suspend the license for 30 days to such a business, the business not rely on just a beer sale only. I mean, when a customer comes to your store, they might buy beer, but they buy the other items with it. So that's how our business, and being in a the corona pandemic, it's already hard enough to go through day by day on routine business. It's very hard to pay your bills as is. So I would request the council members and the city mayors and everybody to look into it like, okay, mistake was made. Now, don't punish these business owners. What's going to happen, we have to let our cashier go. And they're going to be out of the job. Because if business ain't there, I can't pay them payroll out of my pocket. So you guys need to look at it a big picture. I would highly requested to everybody, all the council members, give a businesses the probation for 6 months and lenient that the suspension of the license to 0 days, please.
Guess we'll over.
Need you to present the allegations, please.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the allegations here are that allegations have been made against Mr. Singh, who runs and owns Mr. B's convenience store, that he had a clerk, the clerk being Angela Vaughn, who sold alcohol on 4/12/2021 to an individual under the age of 21 in violation of OCGA 3-3-23A1. The clerk was issued a citation. The clerk has admitted guilt of violating the statute as evidenced by the payment of her citation. In the case of Angela Vaughn, the payment of the citation was through bond forfeiture. We're here today for the council to determine whether Mr. Singh violated City Ordinance 670 when his agent sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21. And secondly, we're here today to determine, in the event that the council determines that there has been a violation of the city ordinance, what the penalty for that violation of Ordinance 6-70 should be. In his request for hearing, as Mr. Singh has also indicated today, he also used the words that there had been a mistake made and that he had learned from that mistake.
I'd like to add one more thing.
If you'll let her finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then you'll get moved.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we just want to make sure the court reporter's taking note of everything that's said, so
Yes,
we have
ma'am.
to talk.
Yes, ma'am.
And at this time, I would present the council members with a copy of the citation that was issued to Ms. Vaughn, as well as a copy showing the bond forfeiture in regard to that citation, as well as a copy of the notice of hearing sent to Mr. Singh and his letter requesting a hearing in this matter. I will also provide Mr. Singh with a copy of what I have provided to the council members.
Thank you.
Mr. Singh, you can answer.
Yeah, what I would like to say is like, after I found out the mistake has been made, what I have done so it wouldn't happen again. See, this is what all of us, like, we learn from our mistake. What I have did is I spent almost $2,500 on my POS system to where whenever somebody purchases any tobacco or alcoholic beverage or any tobacco items, my system would automatically will say check ID. Then I got a scanner system. You scan the person's license, so you can't actually, by even looking at the license, you can kind of make a mistake to where, or that, you know, the calculation mistake to where you can maybe guess the person is 21 or older. So I put the scanner system where you can scan the license. It'll tell you if that person is old enough or not to purchase that certain item. So that's one step I did, so it will not happen again. I'm trying to be the good businessman in this city. And I want y'all to be considered to where don't punish us. Like I say, it will not only hurt me, it will hurt the 7 other employees I got. Thank you.
Thank you. So, we've heard from him, so now would be the time if anyone has any questions, comments.
Mr. Singh, So, I think what you said, you've purchased some device.
Yes, sir.
And are you're requiring your employees going forward?
Yes,
to
sir.
use that on-
I mean, they already fully trained, and like I say, I mean, sometimes when you step in the mud and you don't realize it's a mud, and afterward, when the mud get on your clothing, so you realize you done stepped in the mud. So, mistake has been made. That cannot be corrected. How can we make it right so it will not happen again? That's what I did. So I purchased that device where you scan your license, it'll tell you if that person old enough or not to purchase that certain items.
Any other comments from council? Questions? I guess at this time would be the time to hear on the first item, which was there a violation? So I guess we would need a motion again for a vote on that if there was a violation.
Well, I think they've acknowledged that there was a violation, so I'll make a motion that there was a violation.
I have a motion.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second that there was a violation. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, call for a vote. Councilman Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilman Reeves.
Yes.
Councilman Hill.
Yes.
All right. So now we'll move on to the penalty for the violation of said ordinance. Comments and any recommendations on that?
You know, again, I feel much as I did in the first case that we've acknowledged that there's a violation, but I feel that the clerk, you know, and I guess I would ask for confirmation. The clerk knew Mr. Whoever the undercover person.
No, she didn't.
So was not aware.
No, she didn't know him, and matter of fact, the clerk who actually sold it, she's not even one of my employees either. But I can't just say that it didn't occur in my business. It occurred in my business, and I'm here to face it. Like I say before, the same word, I'm repeating again. It's not gonna help our city. I'm not saying, you know, it was a good thing it done. I'm saying is, by suspension of license, not only gonna hurt me, it's gonna hurt the 7 other employees I got. And you guys have to look at it, the bigger picture of it, to where I know you guys have a responsibility to where y'all have to answer the citizen to where if that incident happened, you guys didn't do nothing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, please do not suspend our license because it will basically kill our business.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Singh, going in, were you familiar with the ordinance before this offense?
Well, I was not. I came, after the citation was issued, I came talk to Mr. Russell. And like, and now I'm aware of it, it was a 90-day suspension. The council member had a meeting, it got reduced from 90 days to 30 days.
Right.
But, I mean, suspend the license for 1 day, like before, we was not selling alcohol on Sunday. And I'm the one was pursuing the issue, why can't we sell it on Sunday when all other counties surrounding us was selling on Sunday? And I brought the issue to front, and I really do appreciate it, all the council member and the mayor, city mayor, and now we allowed to sell on Sunday. So what I'm trying to say is, just 1 day sale was hurting our business because we was not able to sell that beer on Sunday. It was hurting us because people from city of Thomaston going to the surrounding county and purchase their alcoholic beverage. It wasn't like just because we was not selling on Sunday or not allowed to sell on Sunday, people was not drinking. They was going to the surrounding county and go purchase what they needed. but our businesses was hurting. So now I'm trying to request all of y'all to where, don't even suspend it for one day because it hurts. It's a very tough time we're going through, and you guys know as well, y'all have a family to raise and the bills to pay. It hurts. It's not an easy task to play when you have a bunch of bills. The bills not going to reduce just because the license got suspended. All the bills going to remain the same. So you guys need to look into it.
Are you saying the main thing in your store is the beer sale?
No, ma'am, that ain't what I'm saying. The beer sale is draw the customers in. When customer goes in, you probably go in and buy a beer, you might get a pizza with it, or you might get a pack of cigarettes, you might get a Coca-Cola with it. If I'm not allowed to sell beer, the customer not going to come to my store because not only that person wanted a beer, he wanted 7 other items with it. They're going to go where they can get it. They don't want to make 7 different stops so they can get a beer here and other items somewhere else. They're not going to do it. That's what the convenience is for. When you have so many different items, customer not going to walk in there to purchase one single item. So it's like having a lottery in the store or any other item. We put the items in the store to customer come in. Oh, okay, you got this, then I get that with it. So beer is draw the customer in. So is the gasoline. You know, you have a gas in the store. You keep that's one thing I do. If y'all ever notice it, I try to keep the gas prices as low as possible. Sometimes I sell my gas under cost, you know, to draw the customers in. It's a very tough time we're going through, and you guys need to realize that. And punishing us by suspension of the license is going to destroy us.
Bill, one thing I could say is the purpose, you know, when there's a violation of law, the purpose of the penalty is to make it hurt so that you don't repeat.
Right, absolutely. And I learned the lesson, and I'm aware of it, and now how I can prevent it will not happen again. And that's what I let everybody, all of y'all know, and I'll purchase the device to where I hope it never happen again.
And I will repeat the fact that the board, and I think you've acknowledged, that the council made an effort to reduce the penalty for first violation or the options for the penalty. They have reduced it from 90 to 30.
90 to 30, that's right.
In addition to the probation.
See, not only this, it's like it's not a legitimately mistake made by the owner. It's like, you know, our clerk is our responsibility. Clerk made the mistake and we being punished for it. So we are, which is I'm aware of it, we are responsible for anything that goes into our businesses. But if somebody else's mistake is punishing us going out of business just about, it's not the right thing to do. Not at this time anyway.
Any other comments from council? Chief, on this one, would you opportunity to say anything if you need to?
No, I mean, I've made my points earlier.
Okay. All right, so at this time,
I actually have a comment to make also. So 14 stores, 30-day suspension, 90-day suspension, whichever, not only hurts the stores, but also the convenience for the citizens of Thomaston, and then also inconveniences them to have to choose to go, I guess, what, Walmart? What's that, Walmart?
Probably, yeah.
And then they close at 11, and then Circle K, and they don't sell after 12, and then there's people that don't have vehicles, they walk, you know, people that have certain job hours. So you gotta think about your citizens as well, not to mention the industry in this town. I mean, 14 stores shutting down in this town, don't you think that would hurt this town? And, you know, my uncle here, he's been in this town for 30 years, and he's done nothing but try to help grow industry in this town, and I think that should stand for something.
Just about like just about every year on the holidays times, and I try to participate to my city. Just about like I'm not saying I'm bragging about it. On Thanksgiving Day, all the restaurants close. I make a special effort every Thanksgiving, every year, take a pizzas to law enforcement, to the 911 place, the sheriff department, city employees, our fire department. Stuff I'm supposed to do, and I participate in it, try to do the best I can to help my community. And I'm like I say, I wanted to hear from you guys is don't penalize us to suspend our license. It will hurt us bad to where we might have to shut our doors because it's not gonna be easy task.
And I guess for record purposes, would you state your name too? So
Yes, Sandeep Johal,
Could you spell that?
Sandeep, last name Johal, Johal.
Thank you.
The only comment I would have, and I appreciate the comment, the only comment I would have is that our laws are made to try, I know you say citizens would be hurt, but our laws are made to try to also protect the citizens and to make sure that, in this case, underage people aren't able to buy alcohol until they're at the age where they can do it legally. So I hope everybody will understand we make these laws trying to protect our citizens. And trying
Absolutely, absolutely.
I do want to add, for the sake of the store owners here, for you all to know, and I know Bill, I know a few of you, what we did in this operation has nothing to do, because you're right, Bill has brought pizza to the police department, and most of the stores where my officers go into, you guys are good to them, and good to me. This operation has nothing to do with how the police department feels about your stores or your commitment to this community or all that. When I have a complaint about violations of the law, or when I have issues, it's my job, just like it's your job, you run these stores and you want to, it's my job to enforce the law and the ordinances of this community. So when I did that operation, we do it out of pure, it has nothing to do with how we feel about you guys, and it wasn't personal, and I hope that you don't take it that way.
Oh, no,
but we are doing our job, and that is an issue in our community. We do have underage people that are buying out, they're getting it somewhere, and they do buy. And so when we do these operations, the agency that I came from before, we did these operations on a yearly basis. And the stores knew, and it was good. We have to enforce the law. And so it's nothing, I hope that none of you understand that we're not trying to target these stores or anything like that. We're just trying to enforce the law and make sure it's enforced. And in this operation, yes, we used an undercover officer, and he was an officer, but if that officer walked in and placed it on the counter, and if someone said, do you have your ID? He said, I think I left it in the car, and he turned around and walked out. There was no trickery, he didn't give a fake ID, he didn't give a fake date of birth, he just laid it on the counter. So the 14 stores that did sell didn't question whatsoever, they just sold it. My point being, we have an obligation, I have an obligation to enforce the law. It's nothing personal, none of this council, no one is trying to personally attack your stores or hurt your stores. We just have an obligation to do that, and I just hope you understand that.
Yeah, we understand that. Like I say, I've been in business for 30 years, and I have been, I'm not saying the cited before in 7-Eleven store, it was from state people, and state people come since it was first offense, and they look into first offense, second offense, and third offense. When is the first offense to come, they basically fine us. I forgot what the fine was, and our license was on probation for 6 months. And when the second offense happened within 1 year, then they suspend our license for 1 day. So within the city of Palmerston, I mean, it's way outrageous when you have just a first offense and your license being suspended for 30 days. It was 90 days before. It was shown up for outrageous. But like I say, the suspension of a license will hurt you for 1 day. I guess you guys probably had to make some amendment into which is y'all already had done. Y'all need to consider first offense, second offense, and third offense within certain period of time. If the person keep on making the same mistake over and over and over and over, then the person needs to be penalized like you guys deciding it now. when you made a first mistake, and a first mistake basically getting you, the killing you, make you go out of business, that's not a smart the business idea for any of us.
And what my uncle's trying to say is, like Ms. Wheeler said earlier, the city ordinance says 6 month on probation, but you guys get to choose 0 to 30 days of suspension. And so choosing 30 days,
It's basically, you guys have no moral respect for, like, okay, it's in our ordinance, from, it was 90 day, if it was 90 day, we will penalize you for 90 days. Now, we gotta, we can do it from 0 to 30, we're gonna give you 30 days.
what he means by that, like, you guys have the power to choose 0 days and then put us on probation. That way no industry gets hurt, no, like, businesses keep running, that's 14 stores, And basically, in that probationary period, you will see that these businesses will not make this mistake again. I promise you that everyone in here is going to have some type of system installed to where there is 0 room for error. Not to mention, my uncle here already went ahead and took the initiative and spent money and to make sure something like this in his store never happens again.
All right. More questions, comments for this penalty phase of it? Is there a motion? I'd like to make a motion of the recommended penalty.
What now?
Is anybody we're in the penalty phase, so we need to make a motion to what the penalty phase would be on this one.
Well, I'm gonna make the motion that we go ahead and suspend the license for 30 days.
You have a motion to suspend the license for 30 days. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. Councilman Greathouse?
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves?
Yes.
Councilmember Head?
No.
Okay. All right. 3-1 on that one then. So, I guess confirmed, stated that there would be that vote, 30-day suspension of the license, which will be reduced to writing and mailed to the licensee and/or their attorney.
And the time of the suspension.
Time of suspension starts as of today, 30 days from today, and that is also for the Mr. B's store. Anything else we need on that one?
We're not helping anybody here. The city's hurting. Everybody's gonna be hurting.
What the
Like
30
this
days
all, nothing.
suspension, how they gonna help our city?
Not to mention.
I can't believe council members, Jeff and council member Lakeitha Reed.
Well, let me tell you the reason. That was a violation.
Huh?
That was a violation.
Uh-huh.
And my thinking is, as far as the violation, that there's some type of penalty need to be handed out, because there was, everyone have a copy of the ordinance that was placed. And, we had to make a decision. That was a tough decision to make, but I just feel like that's the right decision to make, is to.
I understand where you're coming from,
Yeah.
but here's the issue though.
Why
I
make
punish
it 30?
somebody.
Why make it 30 days? It could have been just 1 day or 2
Well,
days.
it's like we just said, it could have been 90 days, but we cut it back, we went back in, we amended the ordinance to 30 days.
But here's the flow of motion then, okay, so people will stop buying lottery at the stores, Georgia Lottery gets less sales, our schools don't get funded because Georgia Lottery is supposed to help with funding. We're in the middle of a pandemic, other businesses are hurting, we're hurting, industry's hurting. Everybody's trying to stay afloat right now.
I understand.
And this is something that's kind of adding on top of that. When you guys in the ordinance have the power to not give us any suspension, but put us on probation. And then we can provide proof and invoicing of what we did to basically make sure that this never happens again. Scanning system, full employee retraining. You know, you guys name it, we do it, but if you suspend our license for 30 days, you gotta understand that we're gonna have to lay off a lot of people. And that's 14 stores, I'm not just speaking on, you know, Mr. B's alone. So we're going to have other people that are gonna have to file for unemployment. And then we're going to also have Mr. B's and all these stores hurting financially. And then also the city's not gonna be economically as you know, prosperous as it has been. Obviously, coronavirus is a big factor on that as well. And so I feel like we're not really making the best decision here, because I get it, we made a mistake, but you guys also have the power to, you know, everybody makes a mistake, and we get it, you know, we admitted to it, we paid the tickets, you know, you guys gave us the tickets, they wasted no time to make sure they took care of it. My uncle wasted no time to make sure he put something in place to handle this, take charge of the situation, you know, but that's 14 stores, you know, it's not one store or two store, and so the cash flow of the city also is going to hurt, and we're gonna lose loyal customers. We're basically gonna take a huge step backwards, huge step, and then that's what we get for coming to Thomaston and spending 30 years here, planting our seeds here when we could have went anywhere.
Is there any way y'all can reconsider this?
I don't believe so.
Jeff, is there any way y'all can reconsider this?
I move.
Because, I mean, you're
Fixing
gonna
the
be setting
motion.
14 businesses back.
It's been voted on, there's been a motion, a second, and voted on. We just don't go backwards on that.
I get that, but I mean, everybody in this room it's just us here. You know what I mean? Like, so, is there any way we can not have our license suspended and move backwards and move forward? Or at least cut the time in half or something. For the month, you don't understand. Like, we showed you a month invoice on alcohol, how much traffic it brings into a store, you will see how bad.
And I think, kind of like Councilmember Middlebrook said, I think that was kind of considered when the other ordinance was, and it was a shall be 90 days, no really ifs, ands, or buts to something up to 30 days was, you know, so I think that's kind of been considered why it has jumped from 90 days to 30 days.
The process that you're under is a due process. They were cited, your clerks were cited, they all basically paid a fine, pled guilty to that. Your due process is today, and so you presented your case or your side of this before they took a vote, and so they considered everything that you've asked them to consider before they made the decision. But they can't now go back. They've made the decision in 3 cases now. They're taking these case by case. They're listening to each case, and that's what we have to do. So, you know,
I mean, as far as that goes, that none of the cases is different one to another. All of them same obligation and same citation and same sort of issue. It ain't like the one store made the different mistake than other. All of them made the same mistake. Basically, you guys thinking about suspend the license for 14 different stores, and
that like, you know, we chose to all plant our seeds here. So, and you know, my uncle, he's been here longer than all of us, 30 years, and he's not only improved the community by, you know, like Mr. B's, you guys remember how it used to look, the building, 7-Eleven, the house next to it, you know, all the properties that he manages, everything, he improves our community, and I don't feel like you guys are really looking at it in a way that, like, okay, yes, this man made a mistake, but he also has done a lot for the community. And so what we're asking is, yeah, you know, probation, we get that, but losing our license for 30 days would set us back. So why would you set somebody back that's done so much for the community? Like, because that's kind of telling us that no matter how much we do for the community, that Well, you guys are gonna always give us the worst case scenario. Because 30 days is worst case scenario.
90 days was worst case scenario.
The 90 days would be shut down and 14 businesses would be out of this town, and that would be bad for all of us.
That's the only thing would be in the future, if we ever change the ordinance in the future. But as far as what's going on now, you asked for anything could be changed. I don't think anything could be changed now, but you know, it may be something, I guess you could get with the council, city manager and all to speak to maybe how in other communities deal with it and could present future ways of, you know, like I said, maybe it was a 1 day or a probation thing. You know, that's something I think we'd always.
Appeal?
Yeah, let me ask you this. You guys said that you guys get to choose 0 to 30 days. Why 30 days? Who does that, like, why is 30 days your set goal?
It's within their discretion under
Yeah, but
the statute.
I just want to know the thought process.
Yeah, that's what I can't believe, Jeff, if you got a option to use from 0 day to 30 days, but you guys went for the maximized days there can be done.
Yeah, and so.
We're done. We're done. You've had your due process, you've had the hearing. I'm not trying to be rude, but we're going on and on, and the hearing is over. We have other hearings to have. If you guys want to address the city manager at a later date, we can, but we're just beating a dead horse right now. We're going on, I get your points, but we're just going on, and we have other hearings that we have to move on to. We gotta stop. We've got to move forward.
Okay, but you interrupted.
He did, one of the questions he had is there, he did have an appeal.
He would have to ask an attorney. We can't give legal advice.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, like, 30-day suspension is. Well, I guess we'll go from there if that's what you guys want, but you guys have the power to say, you know, 0 days, 15 days, 10 days, 30 days. You guys are choosing 30 days, and I just don't understand why.
Okay.
And that's the vote from council was 30 days.
30 days, yes, and we need to move on to the next one and understand, anybody else that's here to present their side, you need to tell whatever you're gonna tell before they vote. Whatever you want them to consider needs to be stated before the vote, because after the vote, that's it. We don't need to get into this, why did you do it, and it will be a final decision.
I think I did. I'll say everything I had to
Who's
say.
next?
The next one is best value, Raceway, Ghana.
Okay. You're welcome to stand there, or you can come up further if you would like. It might be better if you come here so they can all hear you, if that's okay. You're welcome to sit there or stand, whichever you would like, okay?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. As Bill told here, that I go with his words and I agree with him totally. That's gonna hurt 14 stores if you go for 30 days suspension of license. Please consider that 30 days to go little bit less, or 1 to 3 days, or something else, 1 week. That's gonna help business to run the city. And we, as a business people in the Palmerston City, we care about our communities. We don't try to hurt the communities. As a proof of that, when the police chief of Palmerston asked us to contribute to help the children of Palmerston or our nation, as a businessman in this town, we help the police chief. Like I contribute a little bit. I can't say that's a big amount, but we're trying to give us children a little bit. I want to show to her. We did that. So we are part of the community. We need our community should be safe and better environment. So we are not really intentionally did that mistake. It happened. I'm not arguing that it didn't happen, but it happened. But be kind with the business people. I gonna say you that much. I gonna ask you. Be a little bit more kind toward the businesses, so we can run the businesses in a smooth way. So it will be very hard to run the business if you cut the license for 30 days. instead of 30 days, consider as a financial penalties, like a cash penalties or anything, if possible, instead of cutting the businesses' licenses. That's the only one thing I can bring it to your notice, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Stevens, do you want to present?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, in this particular matter, allegations have been made against Mr. Ghana, who owns a store known as Best Value. The allegations were that Mr. Ghana had a clerk, Ashlyn Reddy, who sold alcohol to an individual under the age of 21 on February the 12th of 2021. The sale of that alcohol was in violation of OCGA 3-3-23A1. The clerk in that matter was issued a citation. The clerk admitted guilt of violating the Georgia law, which was evidenced by the payment of the citation. We're here today for the council to determine whether Mr. Ghana violated City Ordinance 670 when his agent, in this case the clerk, sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21. And in the event that the council finds that indeed that the ordinance was violated, what the penalty for that ordinance violation should be. Mr. Ghana submitted a request for a hearing. In his request for a hearing, Mr. Ghana indicated that this was an unfortunate incident that happened. It was the first mistake for his store, and he humbly requested forgiveness of this council. Along with those words, along with the payment of the ticket, is indication of the guilt in this matter. I would present the council with a copy of the ticket, as well as a copy of the ticket indicating the payment of the clerk's fine, along with the notice of today's hearing that was sent to Mr. Ghana, as well as Mr. Ghana's letter requesting a hearing. I've also provided Mr. Ghana with a copy of the same documents provided to the council members.
Mr. Ghana, is your clerk here to provide any evidence or testimony?
No.
Okay.
So I guess if there's any other comments, the first thing would be, again, was there a violation? And that's our determined first was if there was a violation. So I would need a motion on that matter.
So I make a motion on that. That was a violation.
We have a motion that there was a violation. I hear a second.
Second.
Any discussion on that matter? Hearing none, call for a vote. Councilman Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilmember Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
Yes.
And now we move on to the penalty phase of it. Discussion on that matter. Is there any discussion on that matter? Or motion to what the penalty phase should be on this?
Mr. Mayor, there was a violation on that matter.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Hang
I'm
on.
sorry.
If y'all need to talk, you need to go outside, because we can't hear. Okay, sorry.
There was a violation on that matter, and I make a motion that we do the suspension that's for 30 days on.
Okay, we have a motion for a 30-day suspension on this one. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this matter? Any further thing you would like to add before a vote? Okay. Hearing no further comments, we have a motion and a second, so we call for a vote. Councilmember Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilmember Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
No.
All right, so therefore, the decision is for a 30-day suspension for Best Value which will be later reduced to writing and mailed to the licensee and their attorney. Effective today. And that's that one?
Yes.
Oh, that one. Okay. Thank you for coming.
Yes, absolutely. Mayor, which one is next? We can ask if they are present.
Yes. Kind of. Next was Raceway Karm Bhutwani. Bhutwani is here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kareem Badwani, and I'm the new operator of the Thomaston Raceway since October of 2019. I don't know what exactly you want me to say. The employee who made this mistake, she's been working there before I even took over the store for over 4.5 years. And she's been in this job for 14 years. And she stated that this is the first time that this ever happened with her. She did stated that she knows mostly everyone. If 10 customer walks in, she knows every single one by name. And that's surprising. And I'm not surprised because she's been there for over 4.5 years before even I became a new operator. So she, apparently she said that she knows everyone, and that's probably why she did an ID. Because even I know now, I've been here for about a year or over. I mean, I know mostly all the uniform people that they come in the door. She knows mostly everyone by the name. But she did make a mistake, so, but what part I don't understand is that when she was cited, I was there at the store, but I was in my office. And she asked the officer that, do you want me to bring the owner out? He's inside. And he said, no, it has nothing to do with the owner or business. You're the one who made the mistake. She even knew him by name. But he said that you're the only one who's going to be cited. It's not going to affect the business. That's what she told me. After he left and I asked her, is everything okay? And she said, I got a ticket. She was like, I know he's a cop. How I know that he's under 21? I would never thought that he would be under 21. And I was like, well, you got a ticket. So we paid the ticket, thinking that it's not going to affect the business or the license. Otherwise, I would have not paid the ticket. And I would have contacted the legal department of Raceway and my attorney. I would not have paid the ticket if that would be a cause of accepting the mistake or being guilty. I have notified the Raceway legal team already about this case because now we got that ticket from State Department as well. Suspension of 30 days for the license. That's like very harsh. Not just for my store, for other 14 stores as well. Because it will hurt the business. Just like other people said that when people come to the store, they don't just come to the store to buy a pack of gum or just a soda. They come, they buy multiple things. That's why it's called convenience store. We provide fast, convenient service with multiple items to shop for. And of course, faster than Ingles, Walmart combined. Okay? So, now if suspension of 30 days for the license, that will hurt the business. Now, each store, my personal store, if our purchase is about $9,000 a week beer, 30 times 4, it's going to kill a sale. Because if somebody comes to the store, buy a beer, they buy other stuff, snacks, other stuff to go with it. They're not going to come if our beer doors are locked and we are not allowed to sell beer. They'll go somewhere else. But If that's the case, then I don't know. There's nothing else to say. One more thing I would add. The officer came to the store after this, apologizing to my employee that I'm sorry I had to do this. And she was like, I didn't know you were under 21. There's a lot of cops come to the store in uniform and non-uniform. Now we ask ID. And the very next day when I asked ID, the cop was like, really? And I was like, yes. So,
Is your clerk here
no, she's at the store, that's why I'm here.
to confirm anything that you've said she said? That's what I'm asking.
No, she's not here.
Do you want to present?
Mr. Mayor, council members, the allegations in this case are that Mr. Budwani runs the Raceway store. It's SRCK Inc. doing business as Raceway. Mr. Budwani has acknowledged that. Allegations have been made that there was a clerk, here specifically the clerk was Paula Hammock, sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21. The sale of that alcohol was in violation of OCGA 3-3-23A1. Mr. Budwani has admitted that that sale took place here today. The clerk was issued a citation. The clerk admitted guilt in violating the statute, which was evidenced by the payment of the citation, which Mr. Budwani today has also acknowledged that the citation was paid. We're here today for the council to determine whether Mr. Budwani's violated City Ordinance 6-70 when his clerk sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21. And secondly, we're here to determine if the council finds that the ordinance has been violated, what the penalty should be for that violation in regard to Mr. Budwani. If it is this time, I would present the council a copy of the ticket as well as a copy of the citation showing the payment of the fine, as well as a copy of the notice of hearing from Mr. Budwani, as well as Mr. Budwani's request for hearing. I'm also providing Mr. Budwani with a copy of the same document.
Ms. Stevens, what date is the letter from Mr. Budwani with regard to a request for the hearing, please?
The request for the hearing by Mr. Budwani was dated March the 5th of 2021. The citation was issued on the sale of the alcohol took place on February 12th, 2021.
And when was that ticket paid, please?
The ticket was paid on April the 6th of 2021 through a bond forfeiture.
So was that after he got he received notice that there was an allegation that he was in violation of the ordinance? Was the ticket paid after he was advised?
Yes, the notice of hearing to Mr. Budwani is dated March the 29th of 2021. That's the date of the notice of hearing to Mr. Budwani, March the 29th. The citation was paid on April the 6th of 2021, and Mr. Budwani's request for a hearing is dated March the 5th of 2021. His request for a hearing is prior to the payment of the ticket.
Let's move on to the, was there a violation made? Is there any comments or motions on that?
Make a motion that there was a violation made.
I have a motion and a second on violations. Are there any comments? Hearing none, call for a vote. Councilman Grayhouse.
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
No.
So, no.
No.
You said there's not a
That was a
violation.
violation.
It's the violation.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'll vote yes.
All right. All right. So now we move on to the penalty phase of it. Any comments, anything to add on the penalty phase of the, from council? No comments, is there motions, what the penalty phase would be?
Motion 30 days.
I have a motion for a 30-day suspension of the alcohol license for the Raceway. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the 30-day suspension? Anything to be added? If not, I will call for a vote. Councilmember Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilmember Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
No.
So, again, council's decision is to make a 30-day suspension to Raceway for their alcohol license effective today. And it will be reduced to writing and mailed to the licensee or his or her attorney. So,
That's it.
that's it. Thank you for coming for that one. I guess the next one is Green Shiva for Quick Stop. Are they here? Quick Stop.
There was one that didn't get noticed, and they were switched over to next
The
Friday.
Shamrock one is the one.
That was Shamrock, yeah.
This one was the one that's scheduled for 12 o'clock, which is an hour and 15 minutes. So they may not be here yet. So I guess we just
So you called and
called,
nobody's here.
and no one's here yet for it, but it's what's scheduled to 12, so
So let's just wait.
we'll just have to wait, take a break until this one shows up.
Also, Councilman, I would like everybody to note that I'm handing this over here to investigate a formal complaint against your officer that conducted this operation. It's an assault complaint against me. And he assaulted, you'll read it, and I would hope that you would investigate it, and that you guys are all witnesses, me handing this to him, so that
This
hopefully
is
not.
not the process for that. This is due process on the
This was
alcohol
during
license
the day, the alcohol
suspensions.
license, what
Just
ticket was
anything
handed.
else outside of due process for the alcohol license suspensions is not proper here. So if you want to do that outside, but we're not going to do multiple things here. We are on a break, so if you want to talk, you need to go outside.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
It's kind of bad kind of way, thank you.
Good.
I don't suppose we can stop the YouTube right now and start back since we told the public. we
I don't
would be
think so,
able to.
because you're not going to executive
So,
session.
You know, we can all just take a break until, and leave it running, that's what we can do.
Just be aware.
Oh, that's right.
So, I'm gonna take a break, so anybody else that wants to take a break can do that.
What time we come back? 12?
Unless she gets here, unless they get here early.
Yeah, Jeff, hopefully they'll come a little early.
Okay.
Yeah. It was bad scheduling just because we had that one that didn't receive their notice.
I just need to make a quick run. I'm coming right back.
Where you
It's
going,
it's
Jeff?
10:45
Where you say you were going?
to the house.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna run to the store as well. If for some reason they show up before connecting in, he has my cell phone number. He's never texted me.
All right.
Make sure you take your ID.
I just want a Sprite.
I got a Diet Dr. Pepper.
My doctor.
Make them go this way.
No, seriously, we got a Diet Dr. Pepper.
When you come up in the hallway with them, yeah, right there.
thank you for taking the time to come with us
You're
today
so
to be with
welcome.
us. We appreciate it. I know you have busy schedules, everyone's busy.
Oh, this is one of my favorite
In
times.
fact, I took personal day to be here, so.
Did you really? So where do you usually work? Where do you usually work?
I'm retired from the state of Georgia, like I said, I teach at Skipstone at Westwood campus,
Do you? What do you teach?
social science.
Oh, that's awesome.
Go-
So you retired to go back
Government,
to
world
work?
history, right?
You retired to go back to work?
Well, like I said, I retired and then I went to the Middle East and worked over there for a while.
Did you really? Aren't you,
Remember that
aren't you glad
contract?
you're not over there? Aren't you glad you're not over there anymore?
Oh, I know that. My wife didn't like me being over there.
It's so,
I said that
I don't know.
we look from the outside in. When you're there, it's a different perspective. You understand? They are a much more orderly society than we are.
Really?
We're an orderly society. Everything. You better follow the rules. If you go over there, you better know what the rules are. But memorize the rules and don't miss it.
Except for the, I guess, the extremists that are
Well,
the
you got
ones.
extremists.
I know, it's just like walking around here.
And if you mess with Pete down. Okay, bottom line, bottom line, free fire, okay, free fire. But, no, I can go over there.
Did you?
I was given the opportunity to go back over there. And then COVID hit, like I said, because I would have been stuck. Because, you know, where I would have been is,
It's
there's
just
no
shut
end
down.
nowhere. So, like I said, I'm sitting looking, we've got a wedding this year we're working on, so my youngest,
My
our third
daughter-
wedding, so my youngest.
Well, my daughter, had her wedding planned for this past January 23rd. And she did get married.
We had to cancel last year because of COVID.
Well, we had to, she did get married. We ended up, they rented a Airbnb, and it was his parents, my husband and I, and, you know, the siblings, and I think 2 or 3 of couple friends, so there's, you know, I think 15 people tops, because they wanted, their date was 1-2-3-2-1.
Right.
But, and they didn't want to, they wanted to be married, they didn't want to put it off anymore, but, everything else is rescheduled to January 22nd of next year, because we can't get the money back.
That's right. And that's the whole thing. We were looking destination wedding because, you know, my son Murphy, Murphy graduated from Georgia Tech, but she has her MBA from Georgia Tech.
Well, we won't hold that.
And they are, you know, they're in
Because-
Chicago.
Oh, in Chicago.
So, you know, he in fact, he stopped by, he was coming through the state the other day, and Julie said, you know, we don't mind going in with you as far as destination wedding. He said, well, it's like this. If we had a wedding in Chicago or wherever, it costs the same, if not more. Destination weddings are better. I mean, we have now in Maui, Hawaii. And the destination weddings are really the best way to go. I said, her family, they frequent all the time because they're world travelers. And, you know, her father's an international businessman and the mother's, you know, Atlanta Business Chronicle. She wrote one of the main articles in there this time. Jody Greenwich is her name. But like I said, she's the senior partner for multi-state CPA firms, but they travel all the time. So we're going out there. My wife's not been to Hawaii, so
That'd be nice.
we're good.
Well, we got down to 16 days before the wedding. And on that 14th day, we had to give the caterers the numbers.
Oh,
Well, once
wow.
we gave them the numbers and they ordered the food, it didn't matter what happened, we were getting that food.
You were responsible.
And my son-in-law, he was the one, my husband and I had, you know, sort of hinted around to Melissa and tried to, you know, maybe we should put this off, but my son-in-law was the one that finally said that Wednesday night, because we were gonna have to start calling people and telling them that even though they had RSVP'd, we wouldn't be able to accommodate them because they would only seat 50% of their max. And he said, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I want to be married in front of our friends and family. And if we go forward and it doesn't go, we can't redo
It's
it.
irresponsible.
And I want Melissa to have the wedding she's always dreamed of. So if we postpone it, we have a high likelihood she will. But if we go forward now, we're not going to be able to have everybody there. And what if y'all get sick? What if we get sick? So there were a lot of tears that night. She called me at 7 o'clock that morning on her way to work, and she was spitting nails. She was so mad. And then he called me a couple hours later and said, "Did you talk to Melissa?" I said, "Yeah." And then she called me on a lunch break, and she had calmed down some. And then he called me that afternoon. And then they both called that night. And when I asked, I said, "So what have y'all decided?" And she got real quiet. He said, "Well, we've decided to wait." And you could hear her just sniffling in the back. And I said, "I think that is the best decision." So there was a lot of tears that day. But the next day, I talked to her on her way into work, and it was almost like she had a weight off her shoulders.
Right.
I think she was probably worried about it and didn't realize it.
Well, look,
had to take
my
time.
oldest daughter, we had her wedding, because my little child had her wedding.
Mhm.
We had her wedding. So where do you want to have it? She want to have hers in Central Park, New York. That is actually the most inexpensive location you can.
Now, did she live up there, or?
No, she just wanted, that's what she wanted. She won.
Wow.
And, I mean, if you've ever been to Central Park, if you go to Central Park, you got the Bethesda Fountain, Bethesda Grotto, the venue. Oh, beautiful. You know what that cost me to rent? $25.
No.
Most expensive item we had up there was a marriage license. You had to get a marriage license out of $50. But everything, like I said, we put money aside for her, and I gave all the children the same amount of money. Do whatever you want to. My little child had her wedding here, which cost almost as much as in New York. But like I said, it's amazing what can be done. And like I said, and there's so much that you look at Kangaroo, with how Murphy and Emmett, like I said last year, all to but COVID hit. So it blew everything out of the water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Melissa was so upset because she's
a type A person, and she wants everything to go right down the line.
Well, and she feels like she's earned it. She'll be 20. She'll be 29 this September, and she's never given us a bit of trouble. She went and got her degree, then she went and got her master's, and she's been working, supporting herself, and felt like she's always done the right things. And now this is her turn, and she's always supported her friends when they had their big events and all. And now this is her turn,
Right.
and it was just nothing. And everything.
And she looked forward to this all this time.
Yes.
You went out,
Yes.
Jennifer went all these other weddings. This is what I want. This is what I don't.
I got blamed for that because Santa Claus brought her a bride's outfit when she was 4 years old. So I got blamed for that, because I had that in her head since she was 4 years old.
Well, you're just a planner. I mean, you can't help it.
Yeah.
You're very well organized. Organizational skills, customer service skills are the best skills you can have.
So we're gonna do take two, and it was a very sweet ceremony. It was when Melissa, she works at she's an occupational therapist at Emory.
Oh wow, that's a great field going.
Oh yeah, she loves it. So it's funny though, because our political beliefs did not align very well. She thought I was just cold-hearted and just
Where did she
more
go to
money
college?
driven. Huh?
Where did she go to college?
Georgia College in Milledgeville,
Okay.
and then the medical college in
Okay.
Augusta. And I kept saying, just wait till you get in the work field and then we'll talk politics. And it's so funny now that she's in the work field she's going on 4 years, 5 years. We're aligning a little bit more. Now she sees where people take advantage of the system.
She sees more.
Yes.
Well,
She said she was so mad. About 3 weeks ago, she'd been treating this older woman with her arm. And she was working so hard in therapy trying to gain use of her arm so she could go back to work. And her 30-something-year-old son was sitting there and asked one of the other therapists, how do you get on disability? And he said, well, what kind of ailment do you have? What kind of disability? Oh, I just don't, I'm tired of working. And she, she said, that's what I see. You see people that are really working and trying to get better, and a lot of times they don't have the resources and the insurance runs out and they can't get the therapy. And they're wanting it and working and doing the exercises outside. And then there's others that they want you to, write something so they can extend workers' comp, even though they're not doing extra activities or exercises.
Therapy is here. I know a little bit about that. My old store, she went to Valdosta State. Her area was communications. If she looked at that, she went the PR area. Her boyfriend at the time, his mother, that's what his mother did, that's what his sister did.
Oh, wow.
They were the school systems and doing that. So that's a great field to go into altogether. In fact, it's really interesting when you see that there's so many fields. Prosthetics. I've got a little, I don't know if he's a little cousin. When you're younger, you got almost more on it. He's in prosthetics. He's making a killing. He's living on Dutch Island in Savannah. Raking it, because
So
he
how
has
did he get into
the
that?
personality.
Because that's probably not something
got
that
into
in high school
his
say
business
time.
background. Of course, his granddad was kind of the overall superintendent here, Thomas Cliff. But he has the business personality. He has a great personality. Well, he met doctors he played golf with at the country club. And they liked him. I said, well, why don't you go listen to this because this is in the medical field that is really opening up, and for the next generation of prosthetics, it'll probably be our #1 area. He went into that, and they helped him with and mentored him. And that's what it's like, about finding a good mentor. Because I've seen so many people could have accomplished so many things in life, never had a mentor who could have took
Just
them
to
that next
guide
level.
them a little while. Because seriously, in high school, did he think, okay, I'm going to study and I want to go into prosthetics? People don't really know when. I remember both of my kids in middle school came home so upset when the teacher started pushing when they were having to register for classes going into high school, because think long and hard, because then you'll be on this track and this is what you need for go to college and what you decide you're going to be. And they were both so upset. I don't know what I want to do. Well, you don't even know what's out there available to do.
That's right.
So,
And that's one thing that we try to do through dual diagnosis. Not dual diagnosis, that's just a mental health thing. I go to dual enrollment in high school and college is because you can go ahead and point people. We get the core courses and knock those out, and then go to dual enrollment and knock the core courses out in college, and then see what they want to do. See where they want to, see what jobs are available. Because it's back when I'm much older than you, I know. But back
Probably not.
back there was something that came out called megatrends now. But Keith remember that book came out called Megatrends in the 70s about where we were going to be in the year 2000. And we thought we thought this is science fiction and all that. By the time we got 2000, we were so far beyond what Megatrends was all about, because this is just the beginning in the mid 70s of the computer age. And brought it up. I had a cousin, you remember Steve Brown? He went in on the ground floor and he made megabooks. in the computer industry working that way. But, like I said, it was hooking up to and finding a mentor to help you move to that next level. Nobody knows what they want to be in high school.
No,
But-
in fact, my son is 22, and he is just now going back to school in August because he has decided what he wants to do. Because we thought he was going down the computer route. Because in fact,
The market getting saturated.
huh?
The market getting saturated.
Well, he started working for, in his senior year of high school, he got out at noon because he had all his credits. And in September of that year, he started working for a computer company, and he would go in and work 1 to 5 every day of the week. And he did that from September until February without even getting paid.
Right.
Because he didn't have any skills to bring to the company. So he wanted to learn and to see, is this really what I want to do? And then by February, he had enough skills that he was worth something to the company, and he started getting paid, and he worked there, and then he started going to DeVry because we thought that was the best fit because he's never really liked school.
Right.
So we thought, not have to concentrate more on your major kind of thing, but that just wasn't a good fit. So he quit that, and he was working full-time for a computer company. And last March, he was leaving that company and going to another company that week in March when everything shut down.
Yeah, March
So he had
13th.
resigned from this one, headed, the next day to the other company to sign all the papers, and he got a call, said we're gonna have to put this off for a couple of weeks because we gotta start working at home. That was in March. So it wasn't until August of that year, August of last year, until they called him back. Well, he'd been out without a job this whole time. He'd gotten rusty when he went back and sort of had to interview again. He was rusty, and he just blew the interview. But he wasn't really that disappointed. And so it made him start thinking, he was disappointed because he really wanted a job, but he wasn't that disappointed that he didn't get that job. So he started thinking that he liked, the part he liked about computer was breaking down the computers and doing the hardware stuff. He didn't really like the software stuff. So it made him start thinking that he really likes working with his hands and doing things. So he is going to school at Central Georgia Tech starting in August to get his A&P license.
He'll learn more about the technical aspect of.
Well, he's doing A&P. He's going to get his aircraft and maintenance license, and then he's going to take another 6 months course, I think in electronics, because he wants to work on the black boxes and the radios and the radar and that kind of stuff.
And then he needs to get more job as a contractor with Robbins Air Force Base. He can do that while he's bagging an internship at Robbins Air Force Base as a defense contractor. And that's what the money is. And if you're going in service, most people come out of service, and they go right next door to the defense contractor. But they got a friend of mine whose son graduated. You've seen the movie Top Gun? Well, he was over the Top Gun school in the East, in Maryland. He did 6 state tours in the Middle East and all that. But he was he went to work the next day after he retired. Defense contract right across the road. Doing the same thing.
Probably going to be raised at another retirement.
Make twice as much as they make the command.
So I've always heard of defense contractors. What do they actually do?
Defense contractors do all the real work, what the services used to do. Employees. They do it just cheaper to hire it out than to keep up with the technology.
So,
don't you realize how, if it used to be 18 months, they changed, it's 12 months, if not 6 months now.
Yeah.
Technology continues to change.
well, that's what Matthew said, when he went back for that second interview, it'd been 6 months, and just in that 6 months, how, what new stuff had come out, and what, things had changed. And that's why he didn't want to always have to, always having to be on top. Well, not, he wants to be on top of his game, but, you know, so defense contractors don't only hire ex-military.
No, they don't do that. They hire from within, because your brightest minds are not going to the military anymore. Because they're going to the defense contractors, they're going to these other contractors who work with, I've got my wife's friends in school, her son was in the Air Force. Of course, he's in the Middle East. Now he's working, at a place between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. He's working for the Emirates. I think he started off at $200,000 a year.
Oh my goodness.
You see, that's
I
just
could get used to that.
as Air Force. He's been Air Force and worked with it what he does. And he just had 4 years in military part of that, because he's very good at what he did. So he's, it's the road between Dubai and Abu Dhabi and the Emirates, if you know what the Grand Mosque is, which is in the middle of that. He's at the air station not far from
No, my world is very small. I'm born and raised, still live in the same county. Except we are actually getting the house ready to move away because we cannot stay there anymore.
Where do you live?
Henry County.
That county's totally changed from dairy cows to people.
To warehouses.
It's totally changed.
It's
You've seen the change in your life just in the last 10 years.
I mean, we would go, well, that's what, I really like about Thomaston and Zebulon and Barnesville and even Griffin to an extent, even Griffin's a little bigger, that I wouldn't do it, but you feel like you could still come down here and, park your car on the square and you wouldn't have to lock your car. I would, it's just a habit, but you definitely
There's still the paint I floated in the golden Cadillac converter. But it doesn't matter if you like it or not.
And just to get out of the county, traffic is just.
Well, the rush hour starts at the McDonald's here.
Oh, yeah. It's.
The rush hour in Atlanta starts at the McDonald's. By the time you get you spend an hour, 15 minutes trying to get to Jonesboro, then you spend another hour trying to get downtown.
Yeah. You can make it to McDonough, and then you're going to spend about 30 minutes getting through Henry County. That stretch on 75, and then
Henry County used to be our shortcut to Atlanta.
Not anymore.
That 63 miles straight up 19. No, you can't do that. But there is no shortcut anymore.
No. Well, I remember I used to work for Atlanta Gas Light. And when I started working there.
That was a great company.
Yeah, it was. I started working there in '85 and worked there for 14 years. And it was 30 miles driveway to driveway. It took me 40 minutes. And now to go 30 miles to Atlanta, it's going to take an hour, probably an hour and a half. So.
I used to have an office in Fayetteville. This is back in Fayetteville. Most of Fayette County was still, like the Dearborn, Woods. Downtown. Well, like I said, that's 55 miles. And that's another county that is really slowed everything.
I know. Melissa works at Emory in Decatur right now, but she's actually.
You can't get there anymore.
Yeah.
You should go up Bright Cliff at Clifton. You
were there. But she's actually interviewed at Piedmont Fayette, and this past week she's interviewed at Piedmont Newnan, and they live in Peachtree City, and they really like that area, and I think they're going to stay over there. So I'm planning on grandchildren a lot sooner than they are, I think. But, so we'd like to get closer over there, but we're not Peachtree City people.
Sharpsburg.
I like Sharpsburg and Tyrone, and Ron really likes Inman. So I'd like to get between.
Sharpsburg enough of the country still involved on the lake and everything.
Yeah, he likes Inman because it's like between Hampton
Right.
and Fayette, and it's like nobody's found it yet. But I'd like to be maybe between Griffin and Fayette, or
Used to be a
this
couple-
side of Fayette.
Used to be halfway point called Woolsey.
Mhm.
That one, but that has really exploded now.
Yeah.
I mean,
They think a lot of
they
houses too.
have mega mansions and back mansions and all that popping up everywhere.
Oh, have you seen it?
Just they built a lake between, you know, Woolsey and I just dropped the name. What's the little cities right there? Brooks. Woolsey and
Oh my
Brooks is
gosh,
not
have
bad.
you seen
Brooks
Brooks,
is
prices
Brook-
of the houses in
The
Brooks?
fence is seated 180 acres, so, land in there would be incorporate marijuana, and they were selling off 10-acre lots, and I was gonna go ahead and buy, got my land here, gonna go and buy, and 10 acres, and put a house in, they subdivided it like itself, but we never did it. Like I said, Brooks is the place I would have lived.
Oh, have you seen the house prices in Brooks now?
I-
2,000
I
square
thought
foot
about
house.
Brooks is still 1800 state culture.
Oh,
But right now, used to be the biggest house down there was the Hammock House, just to the south when you're going toward 16 and the left.
well, if you look at the house prices in Brooks, a 2,000 square foot house in Brooks is gonna run you
That's
400,000.
about 400,000 each.
I mean, they think a lot of it. Sonoma,
That, it'll cost you now, this community, that guy can get 250 here.
well, I hope,
And that's low, because they're gonna start off at 325, but 250 is what you get with an older house.
well, I hope y'all and the county will band together and not do like Henry County and just put all these houses on, pile all these houses on small lots.
Well, that's what's happening. They're building up, they've done this behind my farm, the old Hightower property. They started off, you had to have, 10 acres to build a house. But now, they just need it popping up.
I think Pike is what, 2 acres minimum? I mean,
Because they started that off with Hollandville and, get back to Williamson, because they saw how Williamson was growing. But that Concord and all that area was,
Sonoma, that's gonna be the next boom.
they really started building on the river with Flat Shoals is between Concord and Gay. They really started building on the Pike County side here, what used to be old Fish Camp, or we used to call it the sea in Flint River. But that, like you said, those McMansions have been popping up left and right. All right,
No, done. Done. Who's out in the hallway?
Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, Lakeitha was the smartest girl on the school with.
I don't know about that now.
I do. I do. It's hard to believe we're the same age. I look so much older than she does.
No, I don't know about that either.
But Lakeitha was super smart.
All that.
She was, you know, city clerk at East Point, College Park.
College Park.
College Park up there, so she had all the new buildings and the Acre and Hartsfield and all that.
Yeah, talking about expansion and building and all.
Right.
You have a lot of that up there.
That's the place where they really got Mac mansions in College Park. Yes, sir. Come there and live while the children at Woodward. They wants to get out of Woodward, then they go on someplace.
Yeah, I used to have a shortcut to the airport. There is no shortcut to the airport anymore. You can't, I mean, it seems like they change it every time I go there. They have some type of road construction.
Right.
I used to cut up through Riverdale, take a quick hit. You can't cut through Riverdale anymore. I can't hit 139 and just come right around. You can't do that anymore. Well, maybe on that last runway, they really shut that off.
I lived close to the airport, so I kept my house thinking maybe the airport would buy it.
Yeah.
But that's been a while, so I sold it last year.
Especially the way it expanded it. You planted your garden yet, Lakeitha?
No, I haven't. I haven't done a thing.
I'm broke up now. I got still got my cold weather crops in. And put in some tomatoes and squash, and I'll try to come after this rain. Put some more squash and cucumbers and okra and
Okay.
all the good stuff. Eggplant. I still got all my cabbage and all coming off. Still coming off.
Okay.
I made more crops last year than we had ever made, but it was COVID, couldn't even give it away. So what we didn't put up in the freezer, didn't can, put in the freezer. We'll feed the animals, let the animals eat it. Have you had your second shot yet?
I had it maybe 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks.
Did you have a reaction?
I had a reaction to the first one, and it was bothering my legs, and I think that was because of the MS. So I called my doctor, and she explained it to me and told me before I do the second shot, take 2 Tylenol before and 2 Tylenol after. So the second one wasn't as bad.
Okay, well that's
Yeah,
good.
but that first one got
So
me.
it affected your joints, your arthritis?
No, it didn't really bother it. It just really just bothered my legs.
Okay.
Legs were just weak from that first one.
Do you know which shot you got?
I got the Pfizer.
Fine.
Glad I didn't do the
Johnson &
Johnson and Johnson, they're having so many problems with that. Mhm. Yeah,
Well, I was gonna wait on that, and then they said, go ahead and take the Pfizer, and I went
yeah.
ahead, went ahead, and I had my second dose for last week,
Okay,
the Pfizer.
yes.
I don't know if that's what's impacted a lot of my joint pain now or not.
Okay, so you think that has something to do with it?
I don't think so. I think the weather, I just heard anyone.
I know the feeling.
I guess, you know, you're like me, you pop about 4 aspirin every 4 hours anyway. Just try to get back.
But yeah, I'm glad I went on and did a Pfizer too.
I was telling him, you know, my son stopped by this week. He was on the way to Florida, Chicago. He's good to see him in plant working on on his wedding this fall. We had to cancel it last year because of COVID.
Okay. Where does your son live?
Chicago.
Chicago?
Yeah, he's over. You know, he's great. Lots of great at Georgia Tech. He worked revenue analytics off the West Coast. Of course, he flew out of Atlanta. You saw him all the time at the airport. He'd fly out every Sunday night and come back up Thursday to California. And then he took another job. He was over Uber. He was chief strategist in Atlanta, and then made him chief strategist in Chicago. Now he's over the entire United States. So he's got a very good job. Makes more money than I would dreamed of. He's a very smart kid. Takes after his mom.
Okay. After his mother.
Takes his
No,
mom.
you
He's
were
very
smart.
Nah.
You were smart in school.
Nah, I'm a dummy.
Don't tell that. You were smart.
You were smart enough to marry her, so
That's the smartest thing I've ever done. Okay.
It was to marry your wife.
Smartest thing I ever did.
How old is your son, Don? You just have one son?
Yes.
Well, how old is he?
He'll be 30 in September.
Still a young.
He's the baby.
Okay.
And Rachel is Jennifer. She's the oldest, and then Rachel.
Okay.
And Rachel was just named Teacher of the Year in her school, and then Teacher of the Year in her district. She's competing on the state level.
Oh, okay.
For Teacher of the Year now.
Where?
They're outside of Rome.
Okay. Oh, that's
You know, Jennifer's here now. She works.
Right.
She does PR for Scott Blackstock.
Jennifer. Your daughter Jennifer does.
Jennifer, right?
Jennifer was with
She was at the clerk's office.
office, right? Okay.
She's been with Scott for about a year and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's over communications, PR.
Okay, yeah, because
She heads up all the tidal waves and then several other entities they operate.
He has quite a bit going on.
Yes, and Scott did quite well.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he's another name, Georgia Tech graduate.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, he made millions before he graduated with Georgia Tech. He bought a micro from one of his fraternity brothers at the Pike House and sold it to some of the, you know, how they did the old industries, Martha Mills and Thomas Mills, the industries up the Northeast in the boiler room. So instead of shutting the entire plant down for 5 to 7 days to clean the boiler room, but the microbe in would clean the entire system out. You wouldn't have to have any downtime. So he sold that to several of the states and several of the companies up in the Northeast. I mean, he made buku, man. He's always been very, very smart and adept making money.
Yep.
You know, he graduated from Tech. He went to work for the oil companies, and then he came back. Of course, he went to Tech on a football scholarship. Back when Pepper Rogers was the head coach. Somebody's got high heels up. How do people walk in high heels?
Painfully.
Oh, here she comes. Here it comes. I said, who said somebody in high heels? I don't see how you girls can do that, walk in high heels.
She's always, she's still young.
Julie.
I mean, I got 12 wide shoes and that's still hurting.
Our feet aren't usually as big as yours, I've ever seen. So-
I'm sorry.
I said, our feet aren't usually as big as yours, so, you know, we can maneuver around a little bit different.
So you got your baseball season playing?
Yeah, we start tomorrow.
That's good, like that. Mary Ann and Davis been playing for about a month, I think. Outside of Rome.
Yeah.
So,
We start tomorrow.
no, I said grandkid. Yeah. How many grandchildren do you have, man?
Me?
Yeah.
None.
That's the greatest thing you'll ever have, is grandkids.
I know, I can't wait.
I mean,
I keep
you got
trying to push
nothing
her.
like a grandboy or grandgirl to spoil.
I can't wait. I asked them, you know, right after their ceremony, so can we start, can I get an idea of when I might have a grandbaby? And they both just walked away from me, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Somebody's on Facebook, they're
Um,
great.
She had this jacket, I think it had a year worth of
Go upstairs and see how things are. You got everything situated, cause Gail's the thing is Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday?
So I'm gonna have it council night.
Let me see.
Gonna be a little, I think it's from 4 to 6:30 or something like that.
Okay.
This was a problem.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said something because I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
All of that is rescheduled till January 22nd.
Oh, really?
Last year.
That's what tell me, I think Oasis is gonna be all right. I said, at least, yeah. Yeah.
For that Oasis?
Russell said she's gonna be all right.
Pretty sharp. Seems to be pretty sharp.
Yeah, I
She
did
really
that.
does.
She
She really does.
I did that the day of the portraits because I called her. It's Hollywood. Because I called her that.
I'm beginning to call her by name. I used to call Miss
Because
Nichols.
I called her.
Miss Nichols.
Oh, okay, you got
You didn't know how to pronounce
I didn't know how to pronounce
Took a
it.
while to get to that
Yeah,
Oasis.
Oasis, yeah.
I was asking her what, you know, what time, you know. I was gonna plan on working like half a day and then,
They couldn't find a
the last thing
caterer,
I
so
said,
they had to go around
I
and get
just
stuff
thought about
from
it,
this
you know,
place and that
so
place.
what to do about
I thought Geneva told me that she was gonna do something for me.
She thought that was a bit much.
No,
I
thought
think, yeah, they
I'll-
did
I'll
try
check
to
on
me,
it.
but
I
I
don't know.
think that was quite a bit.
she was charging too much.
Okay, I'll just let you go.
Yeah.
So I
You
text
can
her
have, what,
later.
100 to 150 people or whatever coming in and out during that time. Yeah.
She's gonna use that next year. She said. So. But they had this
Can't wait till 12 o'clock, maybe you'll come up.
oval wall and it has, you know, all
I
those.
wish I could do that. Hold my hand.
Deanna, is this still?
Okay, are you here for the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Should
All
I
right,
go?
let's get the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's impressive.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know how to put this together, so we're gonna just make it down
It
aisles.
was like a styrofoam?
No, it's like this plastic oval ball, but it had these big holes in it, so then you would just stick the stems in whichever way you wanted it to go. And then fill up with it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, this again is continuation of the public hearing for the city council to determine whether there's been a violation of the city ordinances as it relates to alcohol license issued to Noreen Shiva for the doing business as Quick Stop. The allegations regarding the sale to a minor will be presented in the licensee, Mr. Shiva. We'll have an opportunity to present evidence and testimony. We'd like to council to consider in making the determination of whether there was a violation, and if so, the penalty for such violation. The matter will be presented in an orderly manner, and once the presentation is complete, council will make a decision which will be stated and later reduced to writing and mailed to the licensee and or his attorney. Mr. Shiva is here today.
Yes.
And just want to confirm that you own and operated the Quick Stop on February 12th, 2021.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll turn it over to.
The way we've handled the ones in the past, if you would like to start, you can, or we can allow the attorney to present the claim against you first. Would you want her to present that first, or do you want to talk to the council first? It's totally up to you. Okay. Will you present?
Yeah. Will you tell me how to say your last name?
Shiva.
Shiva?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, council members, allegations have been made against Mr. Shiva, who owns a business known as Quick Stop, in that a citation was issued to his clerk, S.R. Dazzi, indicating that the clerk sold alcohol on February the 12th, 2021 to an individual under the age of 21. The sale of that alcohol was in violation of OCGA 3-3-23A-1 or A1. The clerk was issued a citation. The clerk has admitted guilt of that statute as evidenced by payment of the citation. And we're here today for the council to determine whether Mr. Shiva has violated the city ordinance 6-70 when his clerk sold alcohol to a person under the age of 21. And secondly, we're here to determine what the penalty for that violation should be should the council find that the ordinance was indeed violated. Mr. Shiva received notice of today's hearing, and he filed a request for a hearing, letter dated March 12th, 2021. Within the letter requesting the hearing, Mr. Shiva admits that his employee sold alcohol, and he regrets, and he also issues apologies to the mayor as well as to the council. This time I would present a copy of the citation that was issued to the clerk, as well as a copy of the citation indicating payment, as well as the notice of hearing to Mr. Shiva and Mr. Shiva's request for a hearing. I'm also providing Mr. Shiva with a copy of those same documents.
All right, we've heard that. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, that we are running the business in a safe environment, but unfortunately it happened. Most of the time we ask the IDs, but I asked my clerk like what's going on. He told like the guy who came is a cop and is familiar. Means how he understands the cop normally he joins after 21. That's what he told me. So I know him. That's why I just gave him. And I really apologize for everybody over here. And I will take my precaution not to repeat that again.
All right. Council, any questions from council? Comments or anything?
I'm sorry, you said that your clerk is the one that violated the ordinance as far as?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. I guess the first question we have to answer is, was there a violation of the ordinance mentioned? And then we would just need a motion from council on that.
Well, I think he has admitted, and it's a matter of record, that there was a violation, so I'll make a motion that we acknowledge that there was a violation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the matter of the violation? Hearing none, I'm call for a vote. Councilman Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Yes.
Councilmember Head.
Yes.
Okay. And the next phase of this is the penalty phase. Any discussion or motions of the penalty phase in this matter?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion as far as the penalty, looking at maybe 30-day suspension of license.
We have a motion for a 30-day suspension of the license for alcohol. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from anyone on the motion on the table for a 30-day suspension?
I think this kind of said what we can say.
All right. If there's nothing from anyone, we'll call for a vote. Councilman Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilman Middlebrooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Yes.
Councilman Head.
No.
Okay. So that is a 3-1 vote for a 30-day suspension, which would start today. And this decision will be reduced later to writing and mailed to the licensee and or their attorney.
Mr. Mayor, there'll be just 6 months probation period also.
6 months probation?
Yes, 6 months
It is.
probation.
It's the, as stated in the ordinance.
He wants to know if he can talk, you know, we've given him an opportunity to talk to the council before they made a vote.
Yeah.
Because I've never been in comment.
If
Right.
there's, if there's a comment, I mean, we'll
If there's
give you some
something,
latitude on
we'll
that.
let, if there's a little comment with the decision's been made, but if there's something you'd like to add for the record, just, I mean, briefly.
Because that is the, my story is behind the senior village. You know, that's the only store over there, so if I get an opportunity for this time, if I get an excuse, so I'll take a, instead of suspending, I think if I have any chance of paying a fine. So that I have,
So there's no, the ordinance doesn't mention anything on the fine, it's just the probation and the 30-day alcohol suspension up to 30 days, so.
You say your store is where?
near the, behind the senior village, over here on the back.
The senior village?
Yeah, oh, sorry, over here.
So that's been voted on, and that's that one, so 3-1 for the suspension for 30 days starting today.
And all I would say is, any other thoughts or comments you have, the city manager is here, and we have meetings on the, he's not here today, but he is normally in his office up here, as well as you're free to contact city councilman or come to a meeting on the first and third.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's our final hearing of today. We will have some scheduled for next Friday, starting at 9.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
So I guess I just need a motion to adjourn from this meeting.
So moved.
Second? Second. All right. All in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cut this off.
And then just check it.
I can't think what the name of that much was.
I never knew what to do with that. I mean, little up, like.
Sunnyside Brook, Sunnyside, Black.
If they correct anything else.
Press that back down.
welcome, it's nice to meet everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Have a safe weekend.
Thank you, you do the same.
All right, buddy, be careful.
You good. I'm gonna do it. I did as I had to do.
I was smart like him being over with there.
I talked to him the other day, you know, he seemed to be loving it. You know, he was power hungry anyway.
That's a different world, that's a different world. Over there. Get your purple over here. You need to be careful, you need to be careful.
Capital City drugs, then.
Oh, man, little Miami.
Thank you so much.
They want to have me, trying to have me know the drugs with that every. That's back today, we get.
Y'all remember